Fuel tragic indeed. Raw emotion on display here. We watched just seconds ago as presumed family members, or at least loved ones, of this 9-year-old boy learned what we know now to be true, that this 9-year-old has been shot in the head, taken to the hospital, but on his way, he never made it. That 9-year-old was fatally wounded. He has died. The family coming to the scene unknowing of what they were going to learn. We watched as police approached the family, told them the devastating news, and then watched their reaction. Definitely heartbreaking to see. They have the entire intersection here of Britton, Roxbury roped off. We haven't had a chance to speak with police in person, but my sources tell me that indeed a 9-year-old has been shot. They have a house that they're currently investigating. It doesn't appear as if they are actively looking for anyone. A very quiet scene here as a lot of neighbors have come out to find out what's happening. Again, the family has just learned this tragic news. Police still talking to them at this moment. We hope to learn more once they're finished speaking with the family. We anticipate they'll come over and speak to us. But again, a 9-year-old fatally shot in the head here on Detroit's east side. Reporting live, Dave Spencer, Fox 2 News.
Dave Spencer, come on over here. You were there where he was talking, when he was talking about all of the wonderful things that Ford Motor Company is doing. What's your impression?
Yeah, it was anytime they rent out Cobo Hall, you know, they're going to, or Joe Louis, they're going to do something special. And here they were, they promised 7 new vehicles in 2015. We got to look at 3 of them, and it was all based on performance. Right out of the gate, Ford put the show in the 2015 North American Auto Show.
The winners will be the innovators. They'll be the disruptors, and those that are willing to break with tradition and find new answers.
With that, Ford unveils 3 new performance-based vehicles to a packed house inside Joe Louis Arena. The most exciting of those is the all-new GT, unveiled with little details except when you can expect to see them.
How about we build it, how about next year?
Sounds good.
Mentioned in the same breath as Ferrari and Lamborghini, this model is meant to impress.
It'll be more exclusive than the 05, 06 Ford GT, and the competitors I just named, it'll certainly be competitive with that.
Race car fans were treated to an update of a favorite. The very stripped-down version of the Shelby GT 350R appeals to the driver who wants to get away fast.
It's the most track-capable, street-legal Mustang ever.
And it's being made with lightweight, revolutionary material designed for speed.
Today we're announcing a pilot project with the U.S. Department of Energy and Dow Chemical to develop low-cost, automotive-grade carbon fiber in high volume.
Keeping with the performance theme,
this is the all-new Ford F-150 Raptor.
An off-road pickup with a 10-speed transmission and increased horsepower and fuel efficiency compared to the older models. While these are the vehicles of Ford's future, Bill Ford Jr. has his vision set to a time when cars will soon be able to drive on their own.
The hardware can be ready relatively soon, whether society is really ready for all the implications of full autonomy. That's really hard to put a date on.
All the vehicles that Ford rolled out really rely on muscle, but one thing was interesting with the fuel prices we're seeing, Murray, is that they were built with fuel efficiency in mind, even though they got a lot of horsepower with that, so they obviously know that these gas prices aren't going to stay low forever.
That is the sound of a determined people.
I'm here to stay. I'm a Detroiter. This is where I live. This is where I'm going to be at.
I love Detroit, and I don't want nothing to happen to it. I don't want us to ever get burnt out.
This is where I live. You know what I'm saying? If I don't look out for it, who's going to look out for it?
Some of 3,000 volunteers, part of the city of Detroit's Angel Night. Only this group
We'll go down this street, come back up the next street. Go down that street, come back up the next street.
has its own method to stopping the criminals, arsonists, and troublemakers.
Angel Night! Angel Night! But they be too busy looking at our bikes, because we got our bikes lit up, TVs, radios, and all that stuff on there.
And we got to see it in action.
Nice.
Yeah?
They was real nice.
I think they are great. They better than the cars.
Patrolling the neighborhood, looking for anything suspicious, any underage kids, making sure ain't nobody trying to set no fire.
They want to stand out, be part of a revolution.
Now Detroit is turning around, and I want to be part of the positive.
Steering the city in a different direction.
We just growing up, don't think we had to do is pick up the trash cans. Now we got to put out fires.
I remember it went from good to bad. Now we're trying to get it back good.
And the efforts of these and the other volunteers of Angel Night seem to be appreciated by the people who call this city home.
I don't want to see no more property being burnt up this year.
These bikes are riding tonight
shining their lights, hoping that they'll be the only lights that shine, rather than the fires that sometimes plague this city and built the reputation of Devil's Night. In Detroit, Dave Spencer, Fox 2 News. That's right, Michelle. I'm actually standing on a side road that goes parallel to 96. Behind me, eastbound 96 is currently closed. It has been for hours and likely will be for hours more, because this is the site, mile marker 22, of a fatal crash where at least one person, the driver of that minivan, was killed. I say at least because as we speak right now, this is why we can only show you part of the scene. Investigators are going into that minivan to make sure that there was no one else involved in that crash, because as soon as the impact occurred, that minivan erupted into flames. Now, Fox 17 was the first crew to arrive on the scene. We were here, as you can see, when Aeromed, the medical helicopter, landed near the highway and took away a woman in her early 20s, said to be the driver of that SUV. That green SUV was said to be going the wrong way down 96, causing drivers heading towards her to swerve out of the way to avoid a collision. Police say as those vehicles got out of the way, it exposed the minivan. As soon as the crash happened, we're told there was an explosion, and that's when a driver nearby who saw the whole thing rushed in to help.
There was
And what you heard there was a witness that says that she saw the beginning of this. And police say a number of witnesses have come forward with their versions of what happened. They say that either she turned around in that emergency lane like you heard just there, or possibly they've also heard that she got on at one of the exits going the wrong way, going the opposite direction at either the Marne exit or Remembrance Road. Police say it'll likely be hours before they could piece together what happened. And in the meantime, as they deal with this scene here, they're asking people to avoid going eastbound on I-96 if at all possible. Live in Ottawa County tonight, Dave Spencer, Fox 17 News. Yeah, Janice, the snow has been falling like this ever since we arrived here in Ottawa County, but that's the least of their concerns for the people that live in this area, at least. I'm standing on 118th Street, which you could clearly see is now underwater. The people that live on the other side of this street, they had to park their car on higher ground, slap on a pair of waders just to get home. Now, our drive into town was a little bit different. In fact, we caught it when there wasn't any snow falling at all. One of the breaks in the storm, as you'll see in this video here, but there was still evidence of how dangerous those roads could be, how slippery. We saw one driver pulled off to the side there getting help from the police officers, and then it was smooth sailing back into town. But the people that live in this part of town, they're not really concerned about the driving conditions. They're worried about if their road's going to be there when they wake up. We spoke with one family who says they plan on riding out this flood as long as they can. Yeah, Michelle, this is an event that really has the neighborhood shaken up. Police had just cleared the scene about an hour ago, but we did get a chance just briefly to speak with the grandsons of this 85-year-old woman who was home alone at the time when she says she was attacked and then robbed inside her home. Now, according to the grandsons, this happened around 10:30. She was left alone for just a half hour, and in that time, this person riding a bike managed to get to the back door. The grandson says he forced his way in, assaulted her, then stole an undisclosed amount of money before leaving, and she was able to call 911. Police spent hours at the home. You see just over my shoulder here. They have now left the scene, but they're asking for help in trying to catch the person responsible for this crime. All they're giving us as terms of information is that he was riding a bike around 10:30. He was wearing a tan colored jacket. He had a hat on and blue jeans, and they're hoping that somebody in this neighborhood had seen that person and is able to give them that information. Now, again, as I mentioned, this is a neighborhood that doesn't see this sort of thing happen. We spoke with some neighbors who say this woman has been a staple of the community. She's 85 years old, lived in that home for close to 50 years now. Obviously, they're concerned for her safety as well as their own when something like this can happen during the middle of the day. As for her condition, I spoke to the grandsons who tell me that she is expected to recover, but obviously shaken up by the ordeal. We will continue to cover this story and bring you any updates. For now, live in Granville, Dave Spencer, Fox 17 News. Witnesses say they could hear the tires squeal as the car turned from Hall onto Comwell, then watched it jump on the sidewalk, crash into the wood fence, continue on, leave portions of the car itself behind before gaining speed and eventually ending up in the house itself. According to wildlife experts that we spoke with, this red-winged blackbird is just doing what he's supposed to do. He's acting on instinct. He likely has a nest or some young that he's trying to protect, but in our case, it's hard not to act on instinct as well, and that's duck and run if you're under attack. When it comes to the norovirus, health professionals say you could leave the disinfecting wipes and the sprays behind. Instead, reach for the bleach. They say bleach is really the only thing that will truly kill the norovirus. It was just after the lunchtime rush, about 1 o'clock on a Friday. when police say this man, 24-year-old Ryan Griffey, was hanging out at this Arby's in Greenville trying to bum a ride back to Grand Rapids. It was about that time, police say, he saw an opportunity that he couldn't pass up. Parked just outside the Arby's was a late model green Pontiac. The keys still in the ignition. The owner, however, was inside getting a bite to eat. Allegedly, Griffey got in the car and saw an opportunity to get a ride home. Michelle, in the last hour, there have been a lot of developments that we're learning concerning a police chase that ended with the driver of a truck taking his own life after shooting at police. We're also learning that inside that truck was a 15-year-old girl. That was the passenger. I'm live now at the home where that truck originally belonged to. This also happens to be the home of the 15-year-old girl. The chase came to an end at 31 in Petaluma. That's when police tried to pull that driver over. He then turned the gun on himself, took his own life after firing at police officers. Officers tell me that no one else was hurt, including that 15-year-old girl. I'm joined right now by the brother of that 15-year-old, Sean Pearson. Sean, obviously a terrifying ordeal. You tell me that you've been looking for your sister for some time. Tell me how that all came to be.
Well, it all happened yesterday.
Medical dispatch. Caller, can you tell me exactly what happened?
Life EMS has handled thousands of calls just like this since 2004. Each one is analyzed and stored in a database.
This here is our current control center.
Then, the information is used to predict the future.
10-4-265.
At Life Ambulance, they say they know when you are going to need an ambulance 10 minutes before you do. It's all here on the dispatcher's screen.
Much like a weather radar, it shows graphically in color where the next emergency call is going to be.
It's called predictive deployment. It works by using past 911 calls. For example, they will look at all the prior calls from, say, a Wednesday night at 10 p.m., and by mapping it out, they try to predict where they'll be needed in the future. The system refreshes every 10 minutes.
Now we look at the demand radar and we determine the best place to position that ambulance.
257, show you transporting priority 2 to Butterworth.
Life EMS has been using this software since 2009.
We actually had crews that would question us. Ambulance crews, paramedic crews out on the road would question, why are we going there? We never go there. And within 10 minutes, they're going to a priority 1 a block and a half away.
Tony Sorensen says on average it shaves a minute off each call they respond to. Precious time when responding to things like a heart attack.
1 minute can make the difference in survivability.
He says it works on the theory that our daily lives are predictable.
When you drive to work, you probably drive the same route every time. When you go to the store to go grocery shopping, you probably go to the same store. You probably even park in the same part of the parking lot. You probably even enter the same door of the store. Human behavior has been determined to be extremely predictable.
And so this takes that to the next step, saying we know where the next emergency is going to come from.
Absolutely. Yep. And we have learned from that and found it to be extremely accurate.
So the next time you're out driving around town and see an ambulance parked in a lot, it's likely there for a reason. Like a giant game of chess, they are pieces strategically placed on the city grid. And the people moving the pieces are quite confident they're going to win.